Well, one thing I like about the book is and you mentioned this earlier in our conversation, is you talk about like the per position breakdowns. And I think that was very, very fascinating. Like obviously, and I've heard you speak about, the best shooter is clearly Steph Curry, and you see, the best point guard. You see some different analysis and that kind of thing. When you put together those lists, are there ever players that like this really surprise you, like statistically, like they're viewed as, let's say, a good player or a solid player, but then when you start to break it down, like for me, at the bottom of your 75 list, I see names like Jeff Hornacek, and I'm like, well, Hornacek was always a good player and a solid player, but then when you start breaking down the efficiency, like you said,
Yeah,
that
he
is in
was,
your
he was great.
algorithm,
He was very
very
good.
efficient. Yeah.
Yeah.
Are there other players that kind of surprise you like that, where you put together your numbers and you're like, wow, that really kind of shocked me a little bit. That's even more than I would have ever expected.
Well, I was surprised that Curry was so, there have been a lot of great shooters in the NBA, but Curry is just way ahead of the number 2 guy. I mean, the league average points per shot might be between 0.8, between 0.8 points per shot and 0.9. And the really great shooters got to 1.0, got right up to 1 point per shot. Curry was over 1.1. I mean, he's like 30%. The zone there between 800 and 1.0, which almost all of the other players fall into that zone, and he's 1.1. You're talking about another 50% if you split that. As far as that's concerned, that was the most. That and the fact that Dennis Rodman computed out as the greatest rebounder of all time. That one I just had to go over and over and over and over again, and it always came out the same way. He was, and then you started to realize, well, the league was different, and Detroit was different. They played a slow down pace, so there weren't that many rebounds in a game, and he got the largest percentage of rebounds of any player during his minutes on the floor, because Detroit played this slow down, boring, rough stuff game. Other teams like the Lakers and the Celtics were running and gunning and putting up a lot of points, but Detroit didn't play that way. So Rodman, leading the league, I think it was 6 times in rebound, was really exceptional because his team didn't play in games that had that many rebounds. They just didn't. Available rebounds. That was a real surprise to me. Probably more so even than Curry, because I knew Curry was a great shooter. I knew Rodman was a great rebounder, but his bulk numbers weren't even close to Chamberlain and Russell. But then when you started to get into all the intangibles, you realize that Chamberlain and Russell, their teams are scoring 115 or 120 points, and Detroit scored 90, 95. The game pace factor, the fact that Russell and Chamberlain were playing 45 minutes instead of 35 or 32 in Rodman's case. He usually didn't play more than about 2/3 of the game. So he was actually the most efficient rebounder. And I had shaking my head. I didn't have anything against Rodman. I'm not, I'm not like some people who just hated Rodman because, well, he had to show off. His game was not flash and dash, so he had this extroverted personality. He wanted to be in the limelight, but he didn't do limelight things. So he did kind of, what's the word I want? Unconventional things to get attention.
These outlandish off the court things.
Yeah. But it wasn't because he was a bad guy. It was just, he wanted some recognition, and he really deserved it. When you run the numbers, Rodman was a really great player, also a great defensive player. He deserved to be in the Hall of Fame.
And I think people underestimate. He's only like 6'6". He's on the floor with these players that are 6'10" to 7-footers every single night, and he's pulling down double-digit rebounds game after game after game. And even if it is less opportunities, he just knew exactly where the ball was going to go. He knew how to get himself in position to get it. It was really a key element to the Pistons' success, that's for sure.
Yeah, they called him the worm. He would kind of worm his way in there.
Yeah.
And he had great hands. and he had a good leap, but great timing. You didn't see the spectacular things like Robertson and Jordan just off. They could go up high enough to jam two basketballs. One and then the other before they even came back down. Rodman didn't do that, but he was a good leaper, great timing, great hands. He just had an instinct for rebounding. He would just get the ball. He just know where it was going to go, and he would get it. It's hard to explain, but that's what he did. Because Chamberlain, he was 5 inches taller, weighed probably 80 more pounds, more muscular. And yet Rodman had not a better total rebounds, but a better percentage of the available rebounds. He was 23%, and the next two guys were 20%. That's a big gap.
Yeah.
It really is.